It can be difficult to choose between open face helmets because they're so simple in their designs, but that's where it really comes down to fine margins, and the devil really is in the details. Often price plays a factor as well, so we have a range of different price points. And actually one of the helmets on this table has some very interesting accessories. Without any further ado, let's go through our favourite vintage open face helmets for 2025. Our first helmet comes from the brand DMD, and if we're using terms like vintage and retro, this is really well placed. This is the new Jet Retro, which replaces the old vintage. Both of them almost identical in their design, although they have told me they've given an entire overhaul. So the entire helmet is brand new. That includes the shell, the liner, the fit, which has been slightly tweaked, and a whole spectrum of different colorways and styles. And it of course now meets ECE 2206 safety standards, which all of these helmets meet. And the big USP is pretty immediately obvious. It's the overall shell size of this. It's a very low profile helmet. And you can see, in comparison to the other helmets on this table, just how much smaller it actually is, which generally speaking is what people crave from an open face helmet. You want it to be as low profile and slim looking as possible. Another thing people often want from an open face helmet is for it to be lightweight. And it's the lightest on the table, but it shares that title with a few of them actually. Having checked this, I can confirm the medium is 900 grams. Part of that will be as a result of the use of fiberglass in the outer shell construction. They make this in 3 different shell sizes as well. As with all bar one of the helmets on the table, you can fit a variety of different accessories with this because you have snaps on the front, so you can fit peaks or visors if you want. It has a removable liner, again, as do the rest of the helmets on the table, and it uses a double D-ring closure around your neck. Now for sizing, I am going to compare these helmets to each other as we go through this video, and for consistency's sake, they are all in a size medium that I've tried on. And it depends which brand really, so for myself as a reference point, generally I'm between a medium and a large. I'm between 2 sizes, and that's quite common for a lot of people, which means that in certain brands, the medium or the large, either one fits me fine. It's just a question of comfort. Some of them I just cannot get in the medium, and some of them the large is a bit too roomy. With that in mind, when it comes to the DMD Jet Retro, I would describe this as a universal fit. It's an intermediate oval, and the medium was very comfortable. If you ever have any questions about sizing though, double check the size guide on our website, links for which can be found in the description. The next helmet is our best budget option, and it comes from the company ORIGINE. And they actually have multiple options if you want a sub £100 helmet, but the one we're going to talk about today is the Spirit, which, drumroll please, at the time of making this video, comes in at £49. I found that astonishing when I first heard it. I double checked it when we actually had these in the studio for the first time for review, and it still impresses me. Now, since we're talking about comparisons, obviously this doesn't have the same level of finish that you'll find with a lot of the other helmets I'll talk about. For me, that's most noticeable around the liner. They also have a relatively small selection of color choices, but that price cannot be ignored, and it still passes the same safety standards. There are a few other practical differences and visual differences across this as well. Most noticeably, it doesn't have any snaps on the front, so you can't attach a visor or peak, but that's okay because it has its own internal drop-down visor, which can be quite a useful thing. What that will do though is make the outer shell slightly larger, and actually, just for reference, the outer shell is a thermoplastic as well, which is a lot of the reason they're able to be so affordable. But you can see, in comparison to the other helmets I have on the table, obviously this is a larger outer shell. It also weighs slightly more. They actually say around 1,100 grams. I've actually tried it myself though, and it's not that much heavier than the other helmets we have here. It came in just north of 950 grams. They also only make it in 2 different shell sizes, which changes between small and medium. And again, will contribute to this looking larger generally than the other helmets we have. And once again, if we're talking about sizing, it's a medium we have on the table. It was comfortable on my head in size medium, although a little bit roomier than the likes of the DMD, and also a little bit rounder, but I'd still describe this as a universal fit. Our next helmet is possibly the most unique one on this table, and that's the SIMPSON Chopper. The reason for its uniqueness is the choice of accessories. Obviously, being a Simpson, they've tried to retain the same Simpson silhouette and overall shape and design that is so iconic, and the way they've done that is by having an optional mask that you can attach to it, as well as goggles. I don't think I've ever seen that done in this way from any other brand. Something else of a staple from Simpson is the color white, which obviously you can see in the studio. You can probably probably just about see in the studio. White tends to have a bit of a conflict with our background here, but it just has to be in this color. When it comes to the rest of their range, really simple colors. You have got some variety in there, but nowhere near the same sort of range that you'll find with the other brands. This uses a tri-composite shell. It's actually available in 5 different shell sizes. And again, it has a weight of around 900 to 950 grams. It has a comfortable removable liner, uses a double D-ring closure around your neck, and actually has vents for airflow, which isn't common from open face helmets. It still manages to have the snaps at your forehead so you can attach things like a peak or visor, but when it comes to accessories, if you really want to stand out, then they have other options for you, such as I mentioned, this mask that you can attach to goggles, which actually clip in to the helmet itself. So you don't need a strap to the outside, they fasten to the actual helmet. Bear in mind though, it doesn't make it a full face helmet at that stage. It is a rubber mask as opposed to a hard chin bar that you can attach in the likes of the Bell Bruiser or other helmets like that. This is still an open face helmet, even with the mask applied. Sizing, once again, is accurate. It is, again, slightly larger on the inside than the likes of the DMD, but the medium here was probably one of the most comfortable helmets on this table. I think in part because it's a bit deeper as well on the top of your head. Now do bear in mind though, it does have a larger profile and a larger shell than a lot of the other helmets. You can see here how much bigger it is, for example, than the DMD. So if you want a low profile shell, this probably isn't the choice for you. But I like the added comfort of that increased depth to the top of the head. Few helmets can rival the legacy of our next selection. It's the Bell Custom 500. They actually offer great value for money as well, in our opinion. They have a starting price of £120, and we think they have one of the best selections of designs. A great range of colour options with some very tasteful standouts, some available in carbon, and collaborations as well, the likes of Roland Sands. They make the Custom 500 in 5 different shell sizes, but you will see, although this is a large, it is about the same sort of size as the HEDON, and it sits in a kind of middle ground, unlike the SIMPSON or the ORIGINE, which are the larger 2 helmets on this table, as I've mentioned previously. The Bell uses a fiberglass composite for the outer shell. And because of that, once again, it's a pretty light helmet. These have a weight of around 900 grams roughly, which is very similar to the helmets we've got here. And as well as having a great selection of colors, they offer a variety of different accessories, quite a wide range actually of peaks and visors if you need. And with regards to sizing, similar to the SIMPSON, I describe this as a slightly deeper fit, so it comes lower down your brow, which I appreciate. But when I mentioned before about being between 2 sizes, either a medium or a large, it's definitely the large I would need on this occasion. So if, like me, you're between 2 sizes, then favor the larger size. Lastly, let's talk about one of the most luxurious brands we stock. This is the HEDON Hedonist. And previously when I've talked about this helmet, I've referenced the fact that it is one of the lightest and slimmest helmets. But as you've already seen from open face helmets, generally speaking, they are lightweight anyway. This one is 900 grams, which makes it equally the lightest helmet on this table, but there are a few helmets that share that title. It has still got a low profile. It's still got a slim shell, but not quite as slim as the DMD as you've seen. What it offers in spades, though, is a premium luxury finish. And it is something that's very difficult to convey to you without you actually seeing these or trying them on for yourself. But things like the liner or the calf leather that they use throughout, the really nice leather trim, the metal hardware across it, the fact that it hides some very practical features such as venting in the forehead that is found in the snaps here that you can obviously attach a visor to, which equally has a really premium finish. Everything has been considered down to the finest detail, and they also now offer gloves actually, so you can pair your helmet with your gloves. It uses the same leather, the same colors as well. Now when we talk about their high quality of finish, let me get a little bit more specific with regards to the painting of their helmets, especially when they have multiple colors like this one. So you'll find with this, they do it in a layering techniques. They'll start with one layer, sand it down, put on another layer, and mask it off as they go. Now with some other helmet manufacturers, when they're making things to a budget, they'll use printing methods, for example, or even if they use painting methods, they won't go to the same kind of extent of making sure that the join between these colors is smooth. So if you run your finger across it, you can't feel a join between these changes in color. It's little details like that that matter to HEDON. The outer shell is a mix of fiberglass and carbon fiber, and they make this in 4 different shell sizes. They have a really plush liner on the inside. It goes without saying, but they are a very comfortable fit. I would describe this as an intermediate oval shape. And if I'm between two sizes, again, between a medium and large, I would buy the large on this occasion. It is a snug helmet around your ears. And actually, that's quite a good thing because it does a good job of sound suppression, of suppressing that wind noise. It's still an open face helmet, so it's never going to be quite as quiet as a full face, but it does a better job than most. And those are our favourite vintage open face helmets for 2025. If we've missed any of your favourites, drop them in the comment section down below. Links for everything can be found in the description, and I'll see you soon.